Hey there, and welcome to another edition of Snap Tackle Pod. I'm Mick Shaffer of KSHB 41. He is Dion Clisso of PrepsKC. That's it. That's all you need for this show each and every week. You need nothing else because we provide all the knowledge. Actually, I provide the questions. Dion, hopefully you brought the knowledge again.
Sometimes. We'll see. Occasionally.
We'll see. It is Snap Tackle Pod. It is high school football galore here in Kansas City, and that is our topic each and every week on the show. We always start kind of looking back, Dion, so let's start looking back. I don't think Liberty North is interested whatsoever in any sort of debate as to who is the best big class team, at least on the western side in the state of Missouri.
No,
just running through competition.
I don't think so. I think they are as advertised. And, one of those things that when I talked to Coach Jones before the season, he's like, well, we don't have a lot of guys who have that Friday night experience and we don't have that, we got to figure out what we're about. And so they would go down to Bentonville, Arkansas, and they get down a couple touchdowns early and they play them even on from the rest of the way. And they really, I think that was the best thing for them. They went down in a huge atmosphere, got on the field, got their feet wet, no offense to a Blue Springs South or a team that's not as good as them. If they play them in week one, they win by 4 or 5 touchdowns. I don't think it does them any good. Win or lose against Bentonville in that huge stadium with that huge crowd, the first game of the year where everybody's all amped up. They really got their feet wet. I think they looked around and said, we can play with these guys. We're good enough. They weren't shell shocked. And then they've basically been even with Bentonville and 3 to 4 touchdowns better than everybody else they've played since that point.
Bentonville's just taking care of Kansas City schools these last couple of years. Couple wins over Rockers. They came up and beat Mill Valley last year in the COVID year, a state championship team. It's a big time program. It's a huge school. They've got over 2,000 students.
Yeah, it's a massive school. And it's kind of like Texas Light. I think their stadium holds 8 or 9, 10,000 people. And
there's a Bentonville West too. It's not like they haven't split.
Yeah, no, it's a huge deal. And there's a little Walmart money down there too. So, I mean, there's all kinds of money around that program. My sister-in-law is a former Walmart corporate employee and lives down in Rogers, and there's a lot of that money down there. And they really got it going at Bentonville. And that's one of those things. And somebody on Facebook asked me, like, why Kansas City playing all these teams? And I'm like, well, when Rockhurst or CBC or some of these teams that are really good, they have a hard time getting games. And so they're willing to come up here and play. And I think, places like Liberty North and Rockhurst and Mill Valley. And I think Blue Springs played them 4 years ago, I think, or played Rogers, one of the two of them down there. And it gave them a chance to kind of see, what you can measure yourself up. There's nothing better than going and playing somebody that's good, that you probably feel like you could play with and that you won't ever see again.
And you're going to learn from them too. I think some of the best programs in Kansas City aren't afraid of a loss. They're not afraid, especially now where everybody makes the playoffs, Kansas City, Missouri. Nobody's afraid to take an L.
No, and there's such thing as a good L. I mean, and if you're a Class 6 team going out and playing a Bentonville, it doesn't hurt you to play down, but at least you're playing a team that's the same size as you, or if you're a Class 5 or Class 4 team. There's some great wins out there. I mean, you can go up and play up a couple notches, and if you get a win, even an L, you get some bonus points out of that on the Missouri side. So no, it's a good. You're going to see Bentonville up here, or teams going down there for a while, I think.
Hey, should we be talking about Park Hill South more? They're 3-0, and I don't know the first time they're going to lose. Taking a look at their schedule, this is the team that could end the regular season at 8-1, 9-0, I think. Yeah,
I think so too. They got North Kansas City out there. That's probably their toughest run. Lee Summit, by the time they play Lee Summit, if Lee Summit isn't too banged up, they should be a lot better. That's a young team as well. So those are probably the two best chances they have. Briggs Bartosh, they're outstanding. Tailbacks having a great year. Mudia Rubin, who's I think brother at Tanea Rubin is at Clemson. So they've got some really good players on that team. The thing about it is you wonder, they're playing in the Suburban Red, and along with Lee Summit, they're the only Class 16. And while Oak Park is better, and North Kansas City is really good, and they're a good Class 5 team, they're ranked. You don't know if that week in, week out is going to have them ready to go when they get into that Class 6 setup. So no, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they come out of that. They're in the same district with Liberty and Liberty North. So it's going to be fun. And Park Hill, who's 2-1, quietly 2-1. So no, it's Park Hill South's the team to keep an eye on. But you just don't know when they get up against the Liberty North or the Park Hills or something like that, that if they've got that experience. That being said, they may be more healthy, and that might be the best thing for them too.
Yeah, it's crazy. And there's no Park Hill South matchup in the regular season.
No, and that's happened every once in a while. I think it didn't happen right off the bat. Then they were pretty much paired up there for a long time.
They're different conferences, but you figure that, okay, two district schools like that would always find a way to play.
Yeah, I think this cycle they didn't. And it's interesting because this is the cycle where they made the move and moved some students from Park Hill to Park Hill South. So I don't know, maybe that was intentional, keep them apart for a couple of years before they get them back together. But no, I don't know what the suburban conference is going to do, because there's 10 schools now, I think it's 10 schools that are in Class 6, and I don't think they want a 10-team conference. Yeah. And you got Excelsior Springs coming in next year, and that'll push somebody up. And so I'm not sure. Who knows if we don't build any schools over here, and the Lee Summits and the Staley's only one away, they're coming too. And if we keep bumping teams up, they're going to have to do some things. They're going to be 2 maybe Class 6 conferences in the suburban conference before it's all said and done.
No, good point. Hey, Rockhurst has an 0-3 next to its name. They played some great competition. We talked about Bentonville, but that's just weird seeing an 0-3 next to Rockhurst and next to Kelly Donahoe's name.
Well, and they probably had a good chance to win that Park Hill game. That one got away from them. They went for 2, got held up short. So that was kind of a coin toss game that didn't go their way. And they were winning at Ray Peck, and Ray Peck kind of blitzed them in the second half and scored 20 unanswered and scored in the last minute. So, you look at it and you go, oh, they could easily be 2-1, but they're 0-3. That's a team that a lot of their talent are sophomores and freshmen and juniors. They've got a ton of really good freshmen. So they really are a team that's probably going to be better at the end of the season, but probably is looking more towards next year or the year after.
Gotcha. Hey, over on the Kansas side, should we be circling October 8th? Blue Valley North and Blue Valley Northwest. That date, it seems like they're on just a collision course in the EKL for each other.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely a game you want to keep an eye on. Northwest and North are really both just dominating right now. And it's one of those things that, North, Henry Martin always done this with 6 touchdown passes in each of his first 2 games. I joked with John,
12.
You guys got 12. I joked with John Holmes today for a radio show before we went on the air, and I said, it's a situation where, hey, don't feel bad. You give up 6 in the first week. They give up 6 the next week at Blue Valley West. So He's having an outstanding year.
He has. So far, 93 points North has put up. Conversely, Northwest in their 2 games has put up just under 90. So, like we said, collision course, and both of them have played 2 good opponents.
You look at Blue Valley West, and that's a good football team. I mean, they got tailback who's over 300 yards in 2 games.
Northwest has got a Miege and a Blue Valley scalp already. So
it's they're both playing really good teams, and you look at Miege, they got Aquinas this week, and they could be 0-3. You're talking about Rock. Then they got Rockhurst.
Well, and let's mention the last Blue Valley school here that we haven't mentioned. Blue Valley Southwest, a big win over DeSoto on the road last week.
Yeah, and I was a little stunned by that. I thought it would be a toss-up game, but I kind of lean on DeSoto the last few years. But they're young. They've got a lot of new players at DeSoto, but they'll still be in good shape at the end of that run there. The end of the season, they're always usually pretty good. I know that the Mill Valley guy like you may have a differing opinion of that, but they always get better. Brian King does a great job. But hats off to
Mill Valley's closest games the last 2 years have come in those quarterfinals to DeSoto and gone down to the wire. Yeah,
but no, Blue Valley Southwest, good for them, and that's you're starting to see them get some success, and that could build. And
they're in 5A, so
they're in 5A, so you got them and Mill Valley and Aquinas and DeSoto, and it's gonna be interesting. Here's a team in 5A that we don't talk about because it seems weird to have them in 5A. Who's off to a 2-0 start is Spring Hill.
Playing real well. They got knocked out by Mill Valley last year. But they won a game in the playoffs to get there.
So no, they just beat Paola and did it pretty easily. And so no, it's 5A. Like I think 5A maybe has less depth than 4A does on the Kansas side, but 5A has looked really good. Where on 6A you've got Blue Valley North and Blue Valley Northwest, and then there's probably a line, and then there's like a Blue Valley West Olathe North, and those 3 in there, and then there's probably a line, and then you kind of come down the next notch there.
No, I think so as well. Over in 4A, how awesome was that finish? Piper over Eudora. I think there are 9 seconds on the clock to begin the final play, and I think it was 50 yards.
Yeah.
Pass over the top to Ethan Walker as time expired to get a walk-off win for Piper over Eudora.
Yeah, and so a shout out to one of the guys who does work for me, Ryan Walsh, works for GoPowerCat.com, and he's at that game, and he's in the right spot. I mean, basically they threw the ball to him more or less, and he got that shot. And the cool thing about it is, I don't know if he ever even intentionally, the scoreboard was behind him, so you could see the clock running as they were getting ready to do that play, and then and they were in looked like a man coverage there, which I don't know what that was about, but they beat him over the top and got that win. And it's funny because last year in the playoffs, Eudora scored 16 points and went for 2 touchdowns and 2 2-point conversions in the last 5 minutes and scored in the last 20 seconds to knock Piper out. Wow. So they've kind of handed it back and forth. Both those teams are good and are going to get better. I mean, they're younger teams. So hats off to both those teams. And that maybe might be the finish of the year so far. I don't know about the game of the year.
Funny, the next night you saw Jacksonville State beat Florida State in similar fashion. I'm like, I saw that last night. I've already seen that.
Yeah, well, and I'm just glad for our sakes that Ryan Wallace was there. Oh, and he's like, he said, he goes, I'm standing there and I'm thinking to myself, they're probably not going to get it in, but if I don't hit record,
because Eudora had just scored with like a minute left.
Oh yeah.
And it was apparent. It looked like, okay, Eudora's going to win this thing
from the 50.
Puts together a couple plays and wins the game. That was amazing. All right, so let's look ahead here to week 3 in Kansas, week 4 in Missouri. Dion, let's start with your Kansas side, Remax Big 3, and you got to start with the Holy War, right? St. Thomas Aquinas at Bishop Miege. Aquinas 2-0, Miege 0-2, but Miege played the tougher competition, probably. So far, I think this is maybe a more even matchup than what their records might indicate.
And I think Aquinas played St. James, and they played Lutheran North from St. Louis, which has still got some dudes. They don't have Carl Reed, the coach who led them to a state championship, and that's still a really good team, and they've got D1 talent. And that was a shootout. That was back and forth all the way until a pick 6 late kind of iced it for Aquinas. And Sean Carroll, their outstanding tailback at Aquinas, is really doing a great job, and I think they're really pretty dominant. But John Holmes said, he goes, about a quarter into that game last week, he goes, we started to find our footing. He goes, we're kind of starting to put it together. A lot of new places. Now, I've had people tell me they don't look like the Miege team of 4 and 5 years ago. I said to somebody, well, you mean the Miege team that was the best team in Kansas, no matter what class? Yes. Yeah, it's going to be hard for them to continue
They open with Blue Valley North and Blue Valley Northwest. We just talked about it.
Yeah.
They could be the top 2 teams in Kansas, maybe outside of Derby, right?
Yeah. It's so they're, Miege, I think this is going to be a good one.
And both on the road.
Yes. Yeah. No kidding. This is their first game at home. So no, it's I think it said that the first time they played Aquinas at home, and I don't know if they played them 2 years ago. I think they played the game at Aquinas last year. So John said they're ready to go. I like Aquinas in this game just because I think they got a little bit more depth on the offensive and defensive line, but and that that Aquinas defensive line is really good. Even though I mean they bring a lot of people back from a team that was pretty good last year.
And they got C of E on that D line. Yeah, 2 D1 guys.
So no, I think it's a good one.
No, I agree. Also on the Kansas side, we're going to be looking at Lawrence Free State at Olathe North. Free State's better. They're 2-0. Good couple of wins so far. But North has looked really, really good, Dion.
They haven't given up a point, scored over 100 combined.
Right.
I mean,
it's offensively and defensively.
Yeah, and I think the better chance of this is it being a shootout. If Free State kind of want to get into a scoring thing with them and try and score quickly with Jet.
Free State's shown they can score, but they're also giving up points as well.
Oh yeah, they're giving up some points. So it's good. They're gonna have to get out and maybe get a stop, get a turnover, get a two score lead, and just say, okay, let's go back and forth. And good for Free State. They were winless last year, and that program is not used to that at all. And they bounced back and gotten 2 good wins to start the season. And this is the best test that they've had, and they're definitely going to be challenged. And Olathe North looks really good. I mean, they bring back a lot of players off that team, and this is a group they've been kind of pointing to. And I think maybe if Harlan Bruce had stayed last year, they would have had a shot to beat Blue Valley North. I don't know if they get Derby. I mean, Derby was still, by the end of the year last year, was back to being Derby. And so I don't know if they would have got him, but this group right here that was juniors, and then they had a pretty good senior class, or a pretty good group of seniors. I think this junior class that became seniors, there's a little more depth to it, and they like it a lot.
Jet Deneen, the quarterback of Free State, he's back. I see his brothers all over on Saturdays at KU and KSHB playing. Of course, the oldest Deneen, Joe, graduated from KU and played a little bit in the NFL. So the fourth of those Deneen brothers.
I thought we'd be done with him. I think this is probably the last one. I think
Free State wants the family to keep procreating, right?
Yes, definitely
really good for the Firebirds. The lastly here, DeSoto at Baser Linwood as well. It's I like that nice kind of smaller school matchup. 5A against. Is Baser 5A or they're 4A this year?
They're 4A for now. I think they may be in 5A the next time around. And they are playing a different brand of football than they played the last couple of years. They are running the ball a little more. Zach Sizemore, their tailback's having a great year. And he was a really good tailback last year, but they threw the ball a lot more last year.
It's a shame they lost Jordan Brown, their outstanding receiver, to Free State.
Well, and here's the thing about them last year. And if all you do is go look at the scores, 40 something to 50 something, 35 to 45. Their defense was really young last year, but that meant they brought 9 of them back, and now they're giving up like 2 scores a game. And Leavenworth's got
19 total points they've given up.
Yeah, and Leavenworth's got a good offense. They can move it up and down the field. They got some good players, and they held them to just 12 points I think last week. So it's a different little Baser Linwood team. They got a defense that can play, and DeSoto is young in spots, and so when you're running flexbone. Sometimes those first few weeks, if you're young and trying to learn those mesh points, it takes a little while. But I talking with Coach King, he said, we're getting there. He likes it, and that they're always better at the end of the season, and they usually start pretty good. So they've been, the only problem for DeSoto is Aquinas and Mill Valley.
Yeah,
I mean, they ran into. I mean, the best year they had was when the last time they were in 4A was like maybe Miège's best.
Brandon Miège, yeah.
They got up,
maybe their best team ever. I think DeSoto was like the only team to lead Miège that season at all. I think
let them late in the second quarter. And Miège just said, okay, we're gonna go ahead and take off.
They didn't like that feeling.
No, and that was Carter Putz and Jafar Armstrong, and I mean just loaded for bear. And that DeSoto team was a year that
Weber was on that team.
Yeah, I think that year if DeSoto was in 5A, they may have had a better shot than they did in 4A. So no, that's a good game. It's a fun game. That United Kansas Conference is slowly becoming is a good 5A league.
Yeah.
And I think if I'm not correct, I think Piper's moving back over there, aren't they?
Are they
next year? And then there's a Topeka Seaman I think is coming in too. So what they're trying to build is a good 5A league, even though Lansing has dropped down to 4A. I think Lansing is always going to kind of be on that line. Mm-hmm. And Piper's probably headed to 5A at some point.
So many teams on that 4A, 5A line.
Yeah.
You talk about Spring Hill that's over it now, and there's Piper, and then there's Baser. You never know. Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I think that's a good. They got Shawnee Heights in that league, and so that's a fun league, and that's a really good game. That might be for the league title right there.
All right. Lastly, here, Missouri, Ray Peck at Lee Summit North. I mean, this is a no-brainer right here.
I like the way Lee Summit North's playing. They're just taking care of their business. They haven't played the schedule that Ray Peck has, but they have handled who they have needed to, handle. But the only thing that I fear for in Lee Summit North is Ray Peck's going to be ready to play football. They don't want to be 2-2. They don't want to be behind Lee Summit North in a district. This is a district implication game here. So this is a positioning game. So they're going to be fired up. I think this is going to be a good, tough physical game. I think, that Liberty North did dominate that game. But there were a couple little chances there where guys were open and running down the field and, ball just off their fingertips for Ray Peck. So there were some scores that might have changed it up a little bit and changed momentum and maybe brought that game back into question a little bit more. That didn't really happen. They got up 21-0 at halftime and never looked back. But, let's not forget that, Jaden Doss is on that Ray Peck sideline. They've got a lot of good players, but hey, there's 11 back on the Lee Summit North offense. And their defense has really improved this year. And that may be the biggest difference for Lee Summit North. We know their offense is good. We know they can score. But if that defense is holding teams to, 10 points here, 14 points there, that really makes them a player. And let's not forget, the Liberty North Park Hill South group goes to one side of the state bracket. The Ray Peck, Rockhurst, Lee Summit North group, Lee Summit West, who's 3-0, quietly, goes to the other side of the bracket. So the dream of the all Kansas City State Championship is definitely viable this year.
Yep. Platte County at North Kansas City. That's also one of your Remax Big Three games of the week. Platte County kind of coming out of the gates slow, but yeah, I mean, this is a team that's been to back-to-back state championship games. You figure they're going to be a team that gets better and better.
Their defense is pretty good, and their offense is kind of a work in progress. They got new players, and they're rebuilding a lot there. But no, this is a game, and you talk to both coaches. They really like this game. They're both in Class 5 now. They're both going to be in Class 5 for a long time. There's a good possibility within a few years they could be in the same conference. They like playing this game in the regular season. They played it the postseason last year as well. So this could become one of those nice little, as Platte County Kearney was when they were both in 4A, and then Smithville and those guys got in the mix. Now North Kansas City is in that mix in 5. So it's definitely become a good rivalry. And I think North Kansas City, that defensive line they've got so outstanding. And unfortunately for Fort Osage last week, they had the left-hand side, two of their guard and their tackle, I think it is, on the left-hand side, their seniors had COVID. So they were without. That's not the team you want to be without. They were sacked 11 times last week. Wow. And so you want to be healthy on the offensive line when you play North Kansas City.
Well, I mentioned Platte County out of the gate, so they're 2-1 on this. I
lost Park Hill South.
They're 1-2. They lost bad to Park Hill South, but as we talked about, Park Hill South might be one of the surprise teams this year. They've come out of the gates fast. All right, last but not least, Summit Christian and Lafayette County. I like when you go off the board, off this outside the box, off the radar there, Dion.
Well, and you talk about a game that's become a rivalry, and that these two coaches scheduled this non-con game, and they played when Summit Christian was down in Class 2 before they got the success bump up to 3, which is, they'll tell you, they're not shy about telling you they were 1 or 2 students away from being Class 1. And they were in Class 2 and then got the success multiplier because they went to the district championship game. They won a couple district championship games, and now they're in 3. And they've been in, back-to-back quarterfinals. They were in quarterfinal in Class 2, and then they were in quarterfinal in Class 3 when they won Odessa. They beat Odessa, not beat Odessa, but Odessa had to step out last year. So no, Lafayette County's much improved this year. And they were a good team last year. They lost to Penny, Class 1 Penny in the first week of the season. I think you're going to find that there's no shame in that. Penny is good enough to win a state title in Class 1. And for those of you who don't remember, in the middle of the last decade, Penny, or the early part of the last decade, Penny did hey, we're going to win one in Class 2. Oh, wait, we're in Class 2 this year. Oh, we're going to win one in Class 1. Oh, we're going to get bumped up to Class 2. Oh, we're going to win it up there too. They've done one of those things, which is not easy to do. Bump up a class and go get dominant. And they've had some great players like a Kellen Overstreet. So Lafayette County's one loss to them, and they were leading that game late and got beat by 1 score. And Summit Christian is just taking care of their business. Yeah, and they've really handled it. And this is a fun game for both these teams.
Speaking of fun games, Odessa at Oak Grove. That's our game of the week on KSHB 41 Sports. We're going to be out there. Mackenzie Nelson will be live at 6:00, and then turn post-game reaction for the 10. I mean, Class 3 Missouri they're just some powerhouses, it seems like, and it probably led by, if not Blair Oaks, Odessa, who's still on a 27-game win streak. Yeah, at Oak Grove. Do the Panthers have enough to stay up with the Bulldogs?
The Panthers need to find a way to stop teams from getting in the end zone. They've given up 112 points in the last 2 games. Yeah, to Richmond and to Center.
Odessa's probably its chops.
Odessa and they're going to run right at them. And Odessa definitely is a team that winning streak is long, and the regular season winning streak goes back to the start of the 2018 season. They've not lost a regular season game since 2017. So
amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty dominant, and that's a great game. It's always a good rivalry. If Oak Grove can score, they scored 40 last week on Center. They can run the ball. But this is definitely going to be their biggest test. They're coming off games with Richmond and Center. So, I mean, that says a lot about Odessa right there.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Snap Tackle Pod. Dion's going to be probably in that chair. He's the guy in the chair.
Yes.
On Friday nights, updating all the schools. So check out I Love It at Halftime. Checking out, oh man, I can't believe Blue Valley West is winning, or Aquinas is down, and all that stuff. And seeing the scores from across the state, they're pretty much up to the minute scores, updated by PrepsKC. Check out our highlights at 10:00 on our Under the Lights show. 15 minutes every single Friday night from 10:15 to 10:30. Dion will appear on that show of highlights for PrepsKC, our own highlights as well, and then full coverage throughout the night and the next day at PrepsKC.com. Did I cover it all?
Yeah, that's it right there. That's what we do.
I like it. All right, for Dion, I'm Mick. We'll see you next time right here on Snap Tackle Pod.